Hi. Hi, Tim. Hi, Angela. Hi, friends. This is so fun. You know what, Tim? Every time I see your overlay pop up, it makes me really happy. You've done such a good job. That's all Tim. Tim is our producer here.
Yeah, I'm the person who does the videos.
Very cool. Angela, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
I'm excited to have my good friend Angela, who we have like a unique history because we kind of keep running into each other throughout the city. And then last year realized our kids go to the same school.
Yeah. Right? Where have you been all this time?
That was funny, but I'm going to read Angela's bio because it's very interesting. And I don't normally read bios, but I wanted to make sure I got this right. Angela is actually a local San Diegan, which makes this more exciting for me. Being from San Diego, we do have an international audience because, of course, Tim is from the UK, and we're just loving chatting with people all over the world. But Angela is a multi-passionate mompreneur. She's the CEO and event strategist for Angela Grace Events. She teaches service-based entrepreneurs how to grow their business and build their community through planning and promotion of live events, both on and offline, which I've been able to be part of at least one of them. And Angela is a speaker, a self-proclaimed advocate for lifelong learning. She is a mom of, two kiddos?
Two, yeah.
2 kiddos. She has a loving husband. And this is what I'm going to ask about first. You like to dance in the kitchen.
I do. Did I put that on there? I can't even remember.
I have to touch on that first. You like to dance in the kitchen. Hi, Ritika.
Hi.
You like to dance in the kitchen. Can you tell us about that? What are you dancing to?
Oh my gosh. Okay. A lot of times it's, I grew up on all kinds of music. So I'm going to just say it. Bruno Mars is one of my favorites, right? So anything Bruno Mars, anything like Juicy from, what is it? Biggie Smalls is one of the favorite ones. And anything really that has a beat, I don't care what the words are, I will dance to it. My kids will just like join in, and it's so much fun. Like sometimes I will break out dancing somewhere else and I just forget that the world is there, and they're like, do I join in or do I just like walk away?
Is this mom's moment, or do we get to be part? Do you do it in the car also? Do you do like car ride lip syncs?
Oh my gosh, yes. Like I will roll the windows down, turn the music on blast, and sometimes I'll even tell my child, hey, put this on Instagram. She's just, let's just have fun with it. It's just like, it's just one of those things. And I have one of those rare, it's not a condition, but it's like a gift, I think. It's like, I can't remember what they call, like Frijon, where like you get goosebumps or like, when you hear good music. I can't remember what it's called. I think it's called Frijon. It's like you just got to look it up. I think Frisson, but there's only a few, like a hand, percentage of people who have that. So I just feel it and I got to do something with it. So
that's so funny. By the way, I made Brandon record me on Instagram live, and I was doing it to a radio show, and we got like a warning. I didn't know. Somehow they configured this.
Yes, they put on the music, so you got to be careful with that. So it's fun. It's fun.
I've got lots of bots and things on these social media things where they know well-known tunes.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a way on YouTube that you can actually demonetize and play a particular set of music, but I've never really ever worked it out. And also, like, if you've got to the point where it can be monetized, I want all the money. I don't want to play copyrighted stuff.
That is
the revenue share.
That's true. I want to talk to you about what you do as an event strategist. And you said every day is a celebration. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, absolutely. Oh my goodness. That is my everyday motto, and just basically the phrase that I use all the time for what I do, whether it's work or just everyday life. And so what I've come to understand is when people will ask me, what do you love about events and what is it that you enjoy? I keep coming back to this moment where I step back and I'm looking at all of the people connecting and really just celebrating at this event, whether it's a business event, whether it's, a wedding. I don't do those anymore, thank you. Or, a family party or something. And I see that celebration. So I see events, no matter what it's for, as a celebration. And I feel like it just kind of goes in hand with life. Like everything is a reason to celebrate. Every day is a reason to celebrate. And there's always something to find to celebrate every day. And it just kind of, I just love the word, and I love being able to help people, find what it is that they want to celebrate, or celebrate their business, celebrate their life, whatever it might be. I just feel like it's so important, because if we don't celebrate, if we're too focused on just getting the job done or the task done, it's just, what are we really doing it for, right?
Yeah, exactly.
What are some of your favorite events to plan?
Oh, we were just talking about this. So one of my favorite events is Social Media Day San Diego, and it's an annual event. Mashable started several years ago with Social Media Day, just celebrating it as a way for celebrating how much it's brought us closer. Social media has brought us closer, and how it's just really changed our lives for the better. And this event is hosted by Casual Fridays, and Tyler Anderson is a good friend of mine, and we just, they've really taken it to the next level here in San Diego. So it's a lot of like networking on the beach, and I think last couple of years it was at Bahia, and you were there. I think that's where we saw and reconnected again. So it brings together a lot of great people. The vibe is always amazing, and we have so many social media experts here in San Diego, and because it's a destination, we have a lot of people coming from all over to really attend and speak at this event. But it's just one of those where it's education. So I love events that are educational, that are fun, and that really bring together a core group of like-minded people. And that's just one of them that does it very well. And so I've been fortunate and to be able to be on the planning team and help manage the events and for them. So, and that happens usually every June, end of June. And of course this year it was a 3-day virtual event, and it turned out really well. So, I mean, we're looking forward to coming back live and in person next year.
It's done very, very well, and the speakers there are phenomenal. In fact, one of my favorite speakers every year you bring, I'm not going to know his name, but you will, the lawyer that comes and gives really good tips about what you post online, and he always has a good speech. I'm forgetting his name, but
Mick Jackson. Yeah, he's the streaming lawyer, I believe. Yeah. Yeah, and they do a great job of curating speakers, especially for for every different part of social media, and picking up on the trends, and just kind of like the updates that are happening, because it's changing all the time, right? I mean, you just said before you got on that you had to Facebook switch to your Facebook the look and feel, right? What is it called?
It was like, I don't know. The new face of Facebook or something. Yeah. And it forced me into it. And I was like, oh, okay, well, there's that. I want to ask you one more thing about that event, because it goes into something that I personally want to see you speak, because you're so passionate and you do like to celebrate. You like to celebrate women. You like to celebrate humanity. You like to celebrate community. And I'm hoping one day I get to hear you speak. But you spoke a little bit. You were part of a workshop at Social Media Day San Diego. What was the workshop about? What did you speak about?
Oh man, that workshop was around TikTok. So it was how to use TikTok, in right now, right? So it blew up just kind of like how Zoom did. It's just one of the more, I know you guys interviewed, is it Andrea recently about TikTok? And it was just about how to use it as a platform right now, because I think a lot of people think that it's just for kids. And the truth is, there are moms over 30. That's actually a real hashtag. There are moms in business, and so cool moms, and moms of San Diego. There are so many opportunities there to really connect with your audience and connect with the people that you align with. And so that was a really fun opportunity. And the reason why I really enjoyed TikTok is, and I will say that, I kind of stepped away from it for a little bit. But the reason why I like it is because, you know, we go back to people do business with whom they know, like, and trust, right? And I feel like TikTok kind of brought together all the fun things about social media where you have so many different ways to layer. You know, we have so many different layers to who we are. And I think that TikTok really was able to help people who knew how to use the platform really shine, not just as a business owner, but like as for me, who is a mom who likes to dance in the kitchen, and a lot of my videos are that, and really just kind of like show who you are in every different aspect. And I just thought that was really fun.
What will you be speaking about? What are you hoping to speak about in the future? If I was to invite you to come speak at an event, what would your topic be about?
Oh, that's a good question. So just really quickly, one of the questions that I get a lot, right, as an event strategist is, how do I get people to come to my events? How do I fill seats? And it haunted me for a long time. And it's still like one of those things that I feel like people are still asking. And it's not about sales. It's not about getting bodies, right? It's about getting the right people, right? Mm-hmm. So one of the talks that I've been crafting over the last year, I've actually spoken and done this talk a couple of different times, is really about building that community and adding value and sharing, you know, what it is that you specifically have to offer, right? And really, what's the word that I'm looking for? Really nurturing the people that you want to support, whether you are, you know, a social media strategist, or you're an author, or, you know, you have, Ritika was watching, I can't tell if she's still here, but she has a franchise, you know, where she helps support students with learning STEAM, right? The social, I'm gonna screw it up. So, but you all know what STEAM is, right? Right, STEAM learning. And I think wherever you are, whatever you're passionate about, whatever you feel your gift to the world is, just really owning it and celebrating it and finding the right people, using your messaging, using who you are as a person and your experiences as a whole to really support your movement and your mission to do whatever it is that you want to do. I hope this is making sense, because it's a long-winded answer to your question, but really, when it comes down to it, is really celebrating ourselves, like celebrating who you are, meeting yourself where you are at. And I feel like it sounds very like personal growth ish, you know, but I feel like as an entrepreneur, as somebody who runs a business, like I've learned so much about myself, and I'm sure you can relate to this. But something along those lines, it'll go back to celebrating like who you are, and what you've done and where you're going.
Well, it's key. Your friend said cultivating. I think that's cultivating, celebrate. Yeah. What's key about you, Angela, is because I know you, I know this is who you are, and this is what you really truly do in everyday life, because there's so many, you know, we talk about this a lot. I think in social media, we can be whoever we want to be. But in everyday life, is that who we are? And I know for you that you live what you speak and what you preach, if you want to call it that. So I can't wait to see you speak. I'm gonna be there. Tim,
to me, I'm like blushing. And I have to say the feeling is very mutual.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. It's a big deal to know that when you listen to someone, that they are authentic and real, and who they are both online and offline. So Tim, do you have questions? Because you know I'll take over if
yeah, well, I was getting to the point where I might put something in the private chat saying, "Can I have a question?"
Let's get a question.
Well, I've actually got two questions, so we'll ask the first one, which is obviously in this last couple of 3 months or so, everything's gone virtual. Like all the events have gone virtual. So, like, how has that affected you? Because clearly, you're going to be doing the same stuff for virtual events. And do you prefer like in real life events to virtual events, and what are the differences, and what sort of things, like what have you noticed from this whole big shift to virtual?
That is a great question, Tim. And you know what? Before all of this happened, I was a big cheerleader for in-person events. Like, there's nothing to replace that hug, that connection of, looking at people in the eyes. And I can do it kind of right now. But giving hugs, I like hugging, and I like that feeling of, the energy in the room. And I think I'd mentioned earlier, like I was asking you guys, do you feel like you're more tired watching virtual events as opposed to being in-person events? Because when you're in person, you can kind of take a break. You can kind of like, oh, I'm going to skip a session, like you said, Tim. And what I've learned is that, I like to feed off the energy that's in the room. And so the first couple times that I did these virtual events, it was like so exhausting. I was like, it's going to be so easy. And I learned really quickly that it's exhausting. And so just kind of learning how to navigate those things, like navigating the tech, navigating like, okay, I got to prep my lunch. I have to, because, there might be lunch, but I'm on as in a networking event, right? And so I'm still connecting, but I got to prepare some certain things. So like, I feel like nothing will ever replace in-person events, right? And I think right now where we are, this is kind of the next best thing, because I love that I can see you, Christelle. I love that I can meet you, Tim, and have a face-to-face conversation. But I think that the future really is going to be like hybrid events, where some people will kind of like what we're dealing with school, right? And I know you know what I'm talking about, because we have some that are like physically going and some that are at home. And I think we for the transition, to answer your question about the transition, I was already kind of doing some virtual things, not anything huge, but like live events like this on Facebook or workshops, because I really wanted to test it out. And I think it was just the perfect timing for me as a transition. Everyone's using the word pivot. I think shifting, from one thing to another. I was just talking about, my own business to one of my coaches, and I'm like, oh, what am I going to do now? I do want to keep posting events. And sometimes it's just looking at what you have and then realizing that it's going to work just as fine as a virtual event, right? Because I think sometimes we have it in our head, like, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. And we have to kind of go back and say, you know what? The planning is the same. We do have to look at the tech, and there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve. And I think everyone is giving each other grace, of understanding and, just being able to find their way to the event. And with mistakes, it's going to happen. It's change, right? So it's just that learning curve. So I think as far as events now, this is kind of what we've got to do for now, it's what we get to do, right? Because I think there's so many different opportunities, and when there's a challenge, right? With challenge comes opportunity. There are probably some people who would never do a live event and yet decided, I'm going to go virtual and do it. So there's a lot of people thriving right now in events still, I think. Yeah.
Okay. And my other question, before I let Christelle go back and start interrogating you again, was, I'm going to do a two-part question, so I can steal a little bit.
Go for it.
If I was to start, I've never run a virtual event. I've been to loads of events. I've never run a virtual event, and I've never run a live event. But what would you say are the biggest mistakes that people make when they try and create a virtual event, or they try and create a live event, that having an event organizer or just somebody experienced running events would help with?
Oh man, for sure. I think there's always going to be that planning, right? That planning time and that prep time. I think, it's so easy to set up an event. I think whether it's in Zoom or Facebook, you also got to realize that, if you don't promote it, no one's going to show up. Give them some idea of what this event is about. So some of those rules, if you will, to planning a regular in-person event are still going to apply. So I think just really giving yourself time. number one, I will say this: test out the technology, especially if you've not used it. So like even with, I just did a virtual event for another group called D6, the D6 Small Business Summit, and we needed to test out the breakout rooms. I mean, yeah, it's something that maybe all of us have kind of looked at or done before, but I think if you're going to do it for your own event, make sure you try it out, right? Test everything out, do a test run, check out, I feel like with virtual events, there's a lot of pre-existing things you have to set in place. So you kind of have to think even farther ahead, like how is this person going to access the event? What links do I need to create? What messaging and communication is going to happen? Because I feel like when you have a live event in person, it's kind of like, here's the ticket, show up, right? I'll figure it out when I get there. You've got like a host, a concierge or whatever, and they're going to point you in the right direction. Whereas with a virtual event, you're kind of, I don't want to say you're on your own, but like emails, we're getting so many emails now, things can get lost, right? Or it'll go to junk mail, or you just forget it, or you're like, what's the name of that event again that I signed up for? Mm-hmm. We're not printing things out, or, the communication is really key. So testing your technology, communicating everything that you can very clearly to your audience, so that they know exactly where to go. Just making it super easy for whether it's your speakers, your audience, and then giving yourself time to plan and promote as usual. And then having a moderator. That would be my other really big tip. Have a moderator for your chat. Having a moderator for like any troubleshooting that people are going to access, because the worst thing that is going to happen is like somebody emails you and no one's there to respond, or somebody's going to ask a question and no one's there to answer. So just making sure you have all your bases covered, and still having opportunities for that celebration, right? Whether it's like a happy hour, virtual happy hour, or celebrating with your team afterwards. Just kind of keep it as normal as possible. But those are some things that I've noticed that, when you're doing a virtual event, you really want to make sure you hone in on those things. So great question.
Community. I love the word community, and I think you do too. You talked about it a little bit earlier. What does community mean to you? And why is it important?
Oh man, that's a good one. Oh my goodness. I mean, community, yeah, I love the word too. Just thinking about it, you feel supported. It's and Brene Brown has this really great example, and I use it in my presentation. It's so long, but it's really like that sense of belonging, a safe place where you can ask questions and really just, be yourself and not be afraid to put out your challenges and struggles, and, where you're going to feel like supported and heard and listened to, and where, if I need something, I know I'm going to go here, right? How before it's like the tribe, right? I know where I know if I need anything, this is where I'm going to go to get that resource, right? And so when you build that community of that's safe and encouraging, and adds a lot of value. I talk a lot about adding value because it's so important. Why else would people come if you're not adding value? And then also kind of a mutual, so like-minded people. So like-minded people who are together for whether it's a cause or a certain cause, and you are supporting each other, you're lifting each other up and encouraging each other, and you're adding value to each other's lives. Yeah.
How can we find the right community? What does that look like?
I guess it just depends, right? It depends on what kind of community you need. And sometimes it's going to be different each time, right? So, like for sure, like social media, like I know where I'm going to go to social media, Day San Diego, or social strategist, Stephanie Liu, her group of people with 360 marketing squad. Like those are do you know who I'm talking about? Those are, yes. Yeah. Like they just put out a book, and they've got a whole community of people who are going to help and support promote it, because they've gotten so much value from all four of them combined. And if you meet them in person, it's just like, it's like you're meeting your best buds, because you've talked to them online, they've supported you in some way, answered a question. Hi.
Yeah.
And you've had real conversations with them, right? So like, I'm for sure, like if I need something about social media, I'm going to go there. Or like we were talking about social media marketing world earlier, the social media examiners, like they're like the go-to people, like that's your community. So like I also have a community called Event Planning for Entrepreneurs, but I also have one for moms who live in Mira Mesa. So like, there are different communities for different needs, and that's okay, right? But if any of these communities are like, hey, I'm going to host this workshop about something that you have asked about specifically, that's going to make me think, oh, wow, they're listening to me. I need answers about this topic, so I'm going to attend that workshop or event, right? And so it just all comes full circle. And that's, I think, what I really want to celebrate and help people understand when they're like, how do I get more people to come? Maybe it's not more people, maybe it's the right people, right? Because I talk a lot about too, alignment, like what are your needs? What, because I might like a community or an event because of whatever reason, right? And then you might like it for something different. So it's got to be the right fit. I think just speaking their language, and it's all going to come out, because I might join a group and I'll be like, oh, this sounds really great. And then I never go back to it for whatever reason.
So I've got a bit of a chicken and an egg question for you. You're talking about community. Should a community have a live event or a virtual event to promote the growth of the community, or is it something that they have after the community's grown to kind of as a feature of the community? Like, which comes first? I mean, could you almost create an event to create a community? I mean, what are your ideas on how events and communities are interrelated in that way?
Yeah, I'm going to say absolutely, because I don't think anything's impossible. I think, with the right people, again, it might not be. I feel like at some point you're still going to have a community, whether you realize it or not. It might not be formal, but like if I'm going to, I can't, Christelle, did you used to go to the San Diego Moms Night Out events that we did back in the day?
No, that was before my time. I wish that was before my time.
So, I mean, like with moms, it's not a formal community, but like you walk into a room and you see another mom and you're just like, and they're having a bad day, you're like, I feel you, right?
Yeah.
You feel connected, right? Or if there is a sponsor, or your own business colleagues, like, okay, I'm hosting this event to build my community. How can we work together? So I guess then that goes back to collaborating, right? So all these C's, I love the C's: community, collaborate, celebrate, and they're all very valuable to me. But I think there's still a sense of community, whether you really realize it or not, because you're still going to reach out to people to help you that are in your network to make this event happen, even if you don't have the community to support it or back it up. If your sole purpose is to like, I want to create a community, I still won't do it by myself, right? I'm going to reach out to my friends who, I don't know, like I'm going to reach out to the spa, who I know the owner to, and I'm going to do an event there with her because I want these people to come and feel pampered. And it's still creating, like you're almost creating the community while you're creating the event. I think it's still possible. Does that make sense? Or that confuse you even more?
Angela, have you met Andrea yet? Andrea's our TikTok person.
I know I have not met her in person, but I'm so excited that she's watching, because I did go back and watch some of the show, and I'm following her on TikTok, and I watched some of her stuff, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's so good. So high five.
You guys
we
would
can
be
introduce people via the comments of the show.
I don't normally do this, but you would be best friends if you knew each other. I just know like you have really celebratory spirit. So there you go.
Well, you've got good people. You got good people around you. So
That's so good. Tim, am I going to interrupt you if I ask a question?
No. When you go the other extreme and you're just kind of like mute.
I'm going to change topics a little bit, but you enjoy and you encourage lifelong learning.
Mm-hmm.
Why? What does that look like?
Oh man. So I've just always been a student, and I've always enjoyed school, which is kind of weird for some people. I just feel like I've learned so much, whether it's from reading a book, formal education, taking a workshop, being on the show like this with you guys. I just feel like the more we learn, the more we expand, the more we like can understand, and whether it's empathize with others or, have a different perspective. I just feel I'm just really all about that growth mentality. And if you're not learning anything, I don't feel like growing. So I'm going to learn till the day I, get on out of here. And sometimes I know it can be a little bit of a hindrance, right? So where we get so into learning, but we're not sharing. That actually happened to me, like at the beginning of COVID. I was like diving in so much, it was like, what was it? Creation over consumption. And so I was like, I'm creating all these really cool things, interviewing all these people. Then I got tired and burned out. Then I was like, okay, I'm going to go back and learn and just kind of see what other people are doing. Then I downloaded 50 free things and didn't open them. And I was like, okay, there has to be a balance, right? Because I was like, and research is good. I think sometimes you got to do that, to really, understand what you're doing, get different perspectives. But I think sometimes, and I heard this in another talk recently where she was just like, stop learning and start doing. And so I definitely believe in learning. And on top, and next to that is taking action, right? Whether it's inspired action or, sometimes we just get stuck and we don't know where to go, but taking one step forward is going to like propel us further than if we don't, and we just sit there and keep consuming. So, keep learning, guys. And it doesn't have to be formal education, because I've gotten my master's degree, and I will tell you, I had to unlearn a lot of things. That's all.
Yeah, I've got a master's degree as well, and it's like, it's totally out of date now. It was in computer science years ago, so it was like useful at the time. But,
right.
I think they should move away, and I think this probably will happen anyway. Move away from this idea of like you just do everything when you're young, learning wise. So that rather than everybody doing 3 or 4, 5 years of education in their 20s or whatever, it will be like, well, you can do one course for like 2 months here, or one course for here, 2 months here. And that much more like, rather than this just big, do a degree or do a master's or whatever. Especially the cost of universities and things like that going.
We won't talk about that. I was just talking to my husband the other day, and I was like, you know what? If I would have gone back and done things differently, I would have found a good coach, had them coach me through like all these different life skills, and then like went back, and really been clear about what I wanted to do. This is, a perfect world, but I was like, I almost want to tell my kids, like, but it's different, right? Because
everything. I mean, I remember when, like, in the 90s, probably even the 80s, depressingly, I was reading books about sort of marketing and business and entrepreneurship and everything. But there wasn't really realistically anything I could do, because those were the kind of days you needed to rent a shop out. You needed to do everything physically. You couldn't just start a business online. There wasn't all this drop shipping and like all of the stuff that's available now. It's not that business is any easier to run now. It's just that it's a lot cheaper to just set up a website or use some training site or something along those lines. You don't have to have a shop, and you don't have to rent an office, and you don't have to do this. You can run it all from your garage, literally.
Yeah, for sure.
What is a book that you might recommend to us? Something maybe you've read recently or just something that's impacted your life?
Ooh, right now I'm reading 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and that's like one of the classics. But I want to go back and say, ooh, where is it? Oh, I cannot remember the name of it right now. It's Brendan Burchard. Habits. It's about habits too. It is escaping me right now.
I know that name too.
I know the author's name, but I can't remember what book.
Yeah.
I don't think I've read it yet. I've read 7. I remember reading 7 Habits of Effective People.
Habits. That's I had to look it up. High Performance Habits by Brendan Burchard. I mean, habits are definitely something that's just, if we don't have the habit to instill, those things that we want to keep doing, then we're just not going to get there. And sometimes, I've tried a bunch of different things, and I think sometimes you just have to remember that we're living documents, right? We're like, when you talk about something that changes, like your process or whatever, it's not set in stone. Like, what works for us in this season is not going to work for us when we grow in the next season. So I think just again, going back to continued learning. So if whatever got you, what is that quote where you say, whatever got you here is not going to get you there, right?
Yeah.
So you have to keep evolving. So for me, habits is a struggle. Like, I'm not a morning person, but yet now, since last November, I do my best to go to the gym at 4:15 in the morning. And I haven't gone for a couple of weeks because I sprained my ankle, but that's another talk. But it's knowing that it's going to be a challenge, but like once you get in there, it's like, okay, I can do this, but then when you fall off the wagon, it's like, okay, I gotta get that habit in, so that for me was a pretty good book, and I keep referring back to it. So habits.
So how as a lifelong learner, what is your favorite? How do you learn? What works best for you? Is it watching videos? Is it reading books? Is it a mixture? Is it podcasts? Is it a mixture? And what sort of like learning? I know there's like auditory learning, visual learning, all the rest of it. What is your preferred way of learning? How do you learn?
I like experience. My husband's always like, you're one of those people that learns like you have to go through it and experience to learn it.
Girl, me too.
Yeah, you don't want to talk to my dad about my childhood. But it's been interesting, and I know that like wise people learn from the mistakes of others, but I think it's just like really just for me, like diving in. Like, I have over the past few years, I've experienced a lot of growth, and that's I take a lot of that, or I give a lot of that. I say a lot of that was because I hired a coach. So somebody who has been where I want to be or is ahead of me and understands and just really knows how to ask the right questions and help me find what it is that I'm looking for that's already inside of me. So that's one thing that's been very helpful. I never was really a big reader growing up because I felt like I read too slow, but then I was like, I finally embraced that. And so I read, it doesn't matter how long it takes. I highlight whatever I need to know and learn is going to get there whenever it gets there. I will listen to podcasts while I'm taking a shower, while I'm driving, just kind of like, it just depends. Like, I feel like all different mediums are helpful, wherever I'm at, if that makes sense.
I have a tip for you, actually.
Yeah.
You should read a book or do a course on speed reading, because I did one like years ago, and it definitely helped me speed up my reading speed.
Yeah.
Because it's things like your eye goes all the way to the end of the line, and actually it doesn't need to. It's all simple little things like that, and we just think, oh, we're a slow reader, and actually, I mean, it's just like I wouldn't like spend all your time just reading speed reading books, but maybe find a course or a book on it and just read it as fast as you can. I actually did a course on it years ago, and because it was on one of these Groupon things where you had like I did a while doing all these bizarre Groupon things which were cheap offers, and one of them was a speed reading course, and it was it helped. So sorry to jump in there mid sentence and
no, that's awesome. I mean, like I've definitely thought about it, but so thank you for bringing that up, because that's maybe something I could probably start doing now.
Yeah.
My husband's a fast reader. Like I'll ask him, can you read this? And he's like, looks good. And I'm like, did you even read it?
Well, I mean, there is an element of comprehension. I mean, it could be you're a slow reader because you're comprehending it better. I mean, it's like people will say, oh, they watched the video, and then you ask them about details or watch the film, and you don't even, because they were doing something else at the same time. So,
yeah. So, I mean, I'm old school too. I like to, if I'm going to watch something like on YouTube or whatever, like I need to take notes. Like I journal. And it's just like, there's more studies that prove that, when you take the pen to the paper, like a little bit more. So that's I like to do a little bit of everything, I guess.
What is a podcast you're listening to? What is one of your favorite podcasts?
Oh man. There's a few of them. Gosh, the one that I'm thinking of right now, the one that I was listening to last is Jim Quick. He actually teaches people how to learn faster and read. So he just came out with a book called Limitless. He's got some fascinating stuff about like the brain, and I think I can't remember, but I can't remember the name of it. I'll have to tell you later.
You can put it in our comments later if you want.
Yeah.
But I mean, Marie Forleo, Brene Brown, those are always like my go-to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why Brene Brown? I ask if someone mentions Brene Brown, I want to know why, because I love her and she's life-changing. She was life-changing for me. But why for you? Why Brene Brown?
I feel like she gave me the permission to be vulnerable.
We do want a moment together.
And I just now realized that when you asked me that question, I read, oh my gosh, I don't even remember which book it was. I think it was the Braving the Wilderness. Is that what it was?
Yes. Oh, yes. Okay.
And then I tried to get into Dare to Lead. I was listening to it, but I think I need to read it. But I listened to her talk on Netflix, and just hearing her interview like Alicia Keys and like all these different. She is not perfect herself, and she admits it. And just hearing her stories, like I just relate to it so much, and it's just so powerful. Like I used to feel like being vulnerable, and I wear my heart on my sleeve. I am very emotional, nature, and I feel like I'm a kind person, and I thought that was a weakness. I really thought that was a weakness for me, especially when you come from like a strong, background of, just growing up and feeling like you had to be this strong person. I just felt like she got it, and again, like, really gave me that understanding and permission that it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to show who you really are.
I want to ask you more about this. So I'm going to dig a little bit more into this because this is one of my favorite topics.
Okay.
My sister-in-law, Katrin.
Yes.
Katrin. And Katrin is kind of like my top secret coach. Now everyone knows. But she's just so good about this kind of thing. And very recently, and she's probably told me this a couple times, but it sunk in a couple weeks ago. She said, Christelle, you're really good at being transparent. So it looks like I'm being vulnerable, but you're not. You have to work on being vulnerable because there's a difference. So I'm very good at sharing my life story, but being vulnerable means allowing people into possibly those places where maybe you've been hurt before, or you could be hurt. And that's where like that intersection came. And so I want to dig into vulnerability with you. Why is vulnerability important to you? You kind of touched on that, but I want to dig a little bit deeper. What is the importance of vulnerability in maybe relationships?
You know, I think a lot of it is, I just have this deep desire to support other people, right? Whether it's my kids, my husband, or, you know, my siblings, my parents, and beyond. And I learned that I can't do that. And I'm still working on this. I can't do that if I don't accept who I am. And I think even being vulnerable with myself, like going to the places where I know that, you know, may be hard to bring up, or things that trigger me, and asking myself, why is that bothering me? Or even like telling my husband, feeling really silly about like something that happened with fried rice, that like, oh, I'm just really embarrassed to even talk to you about it. But I thought about it the whole weekend, and then I finally let it out, and I was like, why was I holding on to that? You know, and I think it's about being aware too, you know, like I feel the more aware that we are about what makes us vulnerable and what triggers us, and, you know, it can only make us better people. And I like that you had mentioned that transparency versus like letting people in, because I think, you know, I did a lot of, I talked about, you know, doing all these coaching things, and then like sometimes I would share it. I would not share everything that I've learned, or just insights that even I think would be helpful to others, because I was like, no, people are going to be weirded out because I'm getting a coach for this or that or whatever. You know, it's just that self-talk, which, you know, saying it out loud for the first time here is pretty like, you know, it's helpful. It's being vulnerable, because now I'm saying things that I'm just like, I don't know. Like, I don't know who's watching. But yeah, I think it's just important to know yourself, because this is what I've learned too, is like when you are yourself, when you can be open to the criticism, or whether good, bad, constructive, or, you know, it tearing you down, then you can be yourself without worrying or caring. You know, do I have to go back and do work and kind of compose myself after maybe somebody triggered something in me? Yes, it's constant, you know, but I think when you are yourself, you give other people permission to be themselves. And that's what I really want, because there are some people out there who are truly themselves, and I'm attracted to them because they allow me to be myself. And so it's this constant, like, you know, that energy that you're giving out, and it's coming back. And man, I feel like I talk about this a lot.
And we did a whole topic on this. You what I liked is you said by being vulnerable, you give people permission to be themselves. And I love that. I love that phrase. Tim, I'm going to let you step in here about
vulnerability. I thought you were on the
vulnerable.
wrong there.
Well, this is like one of my favorite topics. So, and it's so.
Well, I mean, I think the whole thing of, I mean, the word triggering and triggers and all this stuff wasn't anything like 20 or 30 years ago. I think, I can't remember who said it, but they said, I think it might have even been on TikTok. So that is I'm a consumer on TikTok. I don't really ever produce anything anymore. I'm Tim Lewis Conference Junkie on TikTok, which clearly I just set that up just as the conferences were all going virtual. So, but yeah, what they were saying was like, it's learning the fact that, yeah, you can be triggered about things, but often the person triggering you isn't doing it for bad reasons. They don't know. And it's being able to tell the difference between people triggering you because they're nasty people, or they're doing it deliberately for some other reason, and people who've just done it accidentally or for some other reason. And I think that's kind of important. But that wasn't really asking a question, was it? So.
No, but that's good insight. I feel like it's true, because sometimes I'm like, did he do that on purpose, or
Yeah,
and you just you have to stop. And
it's so true at the moment, because I mean, one of the things that I've said in previous shows is that social media is putting us in contact with people who are totally different backgrounds. So what might be the most terrible social faux pas to you might be like they don't know that they're not supposed to say that or do that. And especially with people with different levels of language skills as well. I mean, I know a lot of people from around sort of Bosnia and Serbia, in their languages, they don't have really please and thank you and words like it. So they seem very rough and rude in English, speaking English, because they don't have the kind of level of politeness that we don't really have sometimes.
Right.
Sometimes it's just a cultural thing. So I did have I was going to switch back to events if Christelle will allow. If you could create like the best event ever, what would it be like? Make an in-person event, because I'm fed up with talking about like tomorrow when they suddenly release a vaccine and by some mysterious thing they put it in the atmosphere and we're all like vaccinated tomorrow. What would be the best kind of event that you would want to arrange, and or either yourself or for somebody else? What would be your idea of like the best event ever?
Man, thank you for asking, because it gives me this opportunity to put out there what I've been thinking, and just what I've been writing down. So I'm going to just go for it. But I'm a mom. I've got kids and I have a business. And for the longest time, I used to think that they were separate, right? That they were separate. But now I realize, learning and growing wiser and talking to people, and it's all connected. Who we are, what we put out in our work, the way we raise our families, it's all combined into, who we are as a person. And there shouldn't be, at least, a disconnect, right? Because I used to think, oh, I got a suitcase here, I'm gonna go, put on my business suit and go to work, and then I come home and I'm going to be like, take it off and put something different on, and this is what I'm going to be. But no, it's and this is where it comes back to celebrating who you are. And so I feel like I just have this, I haven't formulated it all yet, but I really want to host something that brings us together to talk about all the different things that we do, maybe on different days, different tracks, whether it's like I'm a business owner, I'm an entrepreneur, and then especially I want to say after like all the things that we've been through over the last few months, I kind of struggle with, my kids see me on the computer all the time. What do they think I'm doing? They'll even talk about it, and I'm just like, I'm sorry. But I think having that conversation with them, like giving people space to learn about themselves and their business and growing that, but also giving them space to have family time where they are having their kid, having a dialogue with their kids or their husband or their wife about how do you feel about what mommy does? What do you think she really does? And taking it from there, like taking that conversation to like, I do this, you can do it too, like making it more of a positive influence rather than just, she's on the computer all the time. And we try to do this, we have like family meetings and stuff like that. But I think creating a bigger space, where we can do all of this in one time and then go home together and feel connected in a way where it's like, wow, like, this is what you do, this is what I do, and we're going to go home and we have this plan of how we're going to do things differently, and that's kind of what I'm seeing right now. Just because I feel like our kids are such a part of what the future is going to be. We have a lot of talk about like the kids, how are we going to support them with the way school is right now. it all starts at home, I feel, and I'm just really passionate about that, you know, and thank you for asking that question, because it kind of ignited something.
It sounds like a conference, but with the whole family going. So, like, the kids can. I mean, actually, I think like there is a lot to be said for having young children learning about the same topics, maybe on different levels that apply to the adults about online digital marketing and all the rest of it. And them having some idea what on earth you do on the computer.
Yeah, and oh man, I don't know.
Well, Christelle's got a t-shirt and merchandising business, and that sounds like an entire family kind of.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I was looking through all. Did you design that? By the way, did you design that?
No, this is actually. I want to go back to the person who created this. His style is retro, very retro. You can kind of see the retro look.
Yeah.
And I want to go back to him and ask him to design some more things. It does cost money, so I hired a designer, and then I have a good friend, Marie Lapointe, who designed some of my other shirts. And so she's someone I used to work with at Traveling Stories. So no, I did not design any of my own t-shirts. I just happen to know really, really good, amazing people. And
did you have the concept of like what you wanted it to do?
Yeah. With this particular one, with this one I did, and my boys helped design it. So, but Marie loves to celebrate, and she's a very positive person and likes to put positive messages out there. So a lot of times she just comes to me and says, Christelle, what do you think of this? And pops it up, and there it goes. And she was actually the marketing director at Traveling Stories where I used to work.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
She's coming on the show.
I saw one last night. I think it's a Kind is Cool, and it had the little cats with the glasses.
Yes, that was Marie.
That is so cute.
Kindness. Yeah, that was Marie. And then that you may have seen my really good friend growing up. Her kids were wearing it. The cute redheads. That's my good friend growing up. So that's, yeah. Why were we talking about that? I'm forgetting. Is there a reason?
Well, it was the old kids conference thing.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I'm probably like totally butchering your idea. That's mine. This is always the thing. It's interpretation of like. I was thinking like almost like a Disneyland for kids and adults, but business related.
That could be really fun.
Yeah, so it's not just the adults going and having a big sort of thing. It's like bringing their kids and whole family along to the event. But that's probably not at all what you meant. That was how I interpreted it.
But that's.
I mean, who knows? Who knows at this point? I'm open for anything.
These are endless. That's so funny. We are nearing the end of the show. So I always ask, Tim, do you have a last final question before you know what I'm going to ask?
The funny thing is, I thought you were always going to ask a different question when you said this last week, because you have actually asked about 3 separate ones. Like you sometimes ask, what does success mean for you? Sometimes, what does hope mean for you? And then there is an obvious one, which is like, tell us how to find out about you and all the rest of it.
I do ask that, don't I? That's so funny. Yeah. I ask about success and hope all the time. Okay, my first question is, Tim, what is behind your head?
Oh yes.
What does it say?
Can I should really be good at this. How do I make myself so low? And
follow your microphones. We can't. There you go. Follow your inner llama.
Follow your inner llama.
And we have an ongoing joke here on the show, because whenever Tim wants to use an example of like entrepreneurship, he comes up with the example of, let's just say Christelle owns a llama farm, and then it goes on from there. It's always Christelle owns a llama farm.
I'm very tempted to ask about if Christelle was going to run a llama conference, a conference for llama farmers or something, but we were slightly running out of time, so probably not.
And I feel like improv.
And so I am convinced now Tim needs to create t-shirts and mugs of this llama thing that he's coming up with, because it'd be really funny. But
you can create a whole community about llama lovers, you know?
Llama lovers.
You're that keen on real llamas, but
Tim, Mama Lovers, there it is.
Mama Lovers.
Where can we find you, Angela, online?
I am Angela Grace Events on Facebook and Instagram. And then Angela Grace Celebrates on TikTok. So, and then angelagraceevents.com, you'll be able to find everything there. So I'd love to connect with you. I'd love to celebrate with you, actually. Because every hour is happy hour.
Happy hour, and you have happy hour behind you.
Yeah.
Every hour is happy hour. Thank you for being here, Angela. This was fun. I didn't know we were going to go to certain topics, but I'm so excited that we did, and it was fun learning more about you. This was really exciting. So thank you. Thank you, Andrea Smith, for popping in and chatting with us. I'm glad you could meet Angela and your friend. I think I pronounced her name wrong. Ritika. Thank you for joining us today, and everyone else who watched. Tim, thank you, as always.
Wait, what time is it where you're at?
It's 9:02 in the evening, so that's why I'm looking tired and like bedraggled. It's because I know it's like it's just in there. It's not even. It's just afternoon in your time, isn't it? Or no,
yeah,
1 o'clock. Yeah, so lunchtime. So thank you for everybody for being on the show. I'm just going through my anxiety of which button do I press now, and I think I've got the right one I'm going to press. So thanks for everybody for being on the show, and we'll see you. Well, we've got our happy hour on Thursday, and then next week we've got two guests. So see everybody on Thursday.
Bye.
This is terrifying for me.
I've made more money in the last 3 years than I did in the previous 7.
Cliche shit, you know.